When I was first approached about speaking at TED, I was taken aback. What do I talk about? A TED rep even laughed at me and responded with, "Really? Aren't you the smart one?" I know that I could talk about how over the last 10 years, New York City became the tech hardware leader, and how I got to pave the way with my startup to create this new hardware world headquarters. I could talk about how exciting it was to get New York's financial and private equity leaders so interested in technology that now New York City venture capital is attracting the best minds around the world. Sorry, San Francisco. What I eventually decided to use this time for is to deliver a message that I wish I had heard when I was younger, the age of many in this audience. I'm going to deliver this message through the telling of my early story, because at an early age, I knew where I wanted to get to, but the path to getting there was not so clear. I grew up a tinkerer and a builder, with my first career aspiration, if you can believe it, a toy maker, which, to be fair, eventually progressed to inventor once I learned that word. But growing up in Florida and being the son of a professional tennis player required me to spend most of my time in sports. Every spare moment became dedicated to becoming the best soccer goalkeeper I could, be it through training with the U.S. national team at the IMG Academy, playing in Germany for their National Soccer Federation, or playing for a top 20 Division I program at the University of San Diego. However, against all of the advice of my coaches, I continuously satisfied my curiosity outside of the sport. I knew I wanted to build. In high school, I joined the International Baccalaureate program. In college, instead of studying an athletic department major, I studied business administration. Even when I was struggling to balance my time between sport and school, I took extreme personal interest electives in the architecture and electrical engineering schools. I was so interested in learning how things worked that instead of graduating early, I added a second major of business economics. This is all in addition to founding a social fraternity, being president of the Management Consulting Club, and having 6 internships in places like New York, New Delhi, and Florida, working in industries like hardware technology and branding. These formative years are best described as me doing everything I could to maximize my exposure to things that could help me grow. I did this by collecting knowledge and aligning myself with the best people I could find, with the hopes to best prepare myself to build something very meaningful for the world someday. This habit of surrounding myself with experiences and people led me to consulting and to a practice with as much entrepreneurism as you can find in professional services, the newly formed private equity performance improvement group at Alvarez and Marsal, headquartered here in New York City. It was here that I had the opportunity to work with some of the best minds in solving pressing operational issues for private equity clients. As a junior consultant, I was able to dissect multi-billion-dollar companies to find what went wrong and how to fix it. And once we decided the how, I often had the privilege to be on the team to do the actual fixing. This meant working alongside the very people that created or led these companies, learning about what drove them, and often their personal struggles. I believe that my exposure to these people and these companies gave me the tools to create my own successful ventures I have today. Even in these generally fulfilling roles, I often still felt that something was missing. As many of you know, during my consulting years, I began work on what was the first iteration of Buzzer, the smart apartment intercom I'm sure many of you have. I spent many frustrating months trying to achieve my vision, but sometimes lacked the tools to get it over the finish line. The true breakthrough for me came with my admission to Cornell Tech. At Cornell Tech, I once again found myself surrounded by the best, something I knew would happen after interviewing current students and alumni. But this time, I really had something to give back. I had learned how companies were run at a very intimate level. So when I was working with engineers and other MBA students from a myriad of backgrounds on our multifunctional studio teams, Our projects were able to benefit from these diverse experiences, which is exactly what a project requires for success. Let me circle back to that boy who wanted to be a toy maker. That boy had all the drive in the world and knew he needed to obtain the tools to build those toys. Only by persevering through all the frustrations of growing up and trusting that by surrounding himself with the best, could he one day be one himself. I'm now so proud to wave the banner of New York Technology, and Cornell Tech. Thank you all so much for having me.